This is the Baseball Fury Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Flame.
You're tuned to the Big Game James Show on iHeartRadio. And now your host, Mr. Big Game James, Jimmy Flame.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Jimmy Flame. For the Big Game James Show, the Baseball Fury. There's a lot going on in the world of baseball, and we're going to talk about all of it. Coming right up. Stay tuned. Hot starts in baseball, ladies and gentlemen. Hot starts. Unlike me, we got a couple teams of note to talk about today in terms of hot starts. I bring myself into this because I haven't been off to a hot start. I took a little bit of a vacation at the start of the season, but I'm back on the air, hopefully on the reg, as time permits, and as the information keeps coming through. If you guys remember my previous shows, the preseason was so freaking slow I had nothing to talk about, so I took a vacation. But I'm back, and a few teams in Major League Baseball are off to hot starts, not unprecedented starts, but just really good starts. And I decided today's show is going to be dedicated to discussing historical hot starts and where the teams ended up. We're going to discuss that, along with I'm going to pay a little homage to Mr. Bruno Sammartino as well, and baseball unrelated, and of course Paul Jones as well. Two wrestling icons that passed this week, and I'd be remiss not to at least talk about him a little bit if you know my background. But anyhow, we're going to be talking hot starts coming up in a sec. Hang in there, I'll be right back. And I'm back after that brief number. Feels good to be back. A little bit awkward, but not really. Not as awkward as the start of the O season. Speaking of hot starts, they're in a bit of a reverse hot start. Oh boy. Well, at least we're used to it in Baltimore, and it is what it is. But today we're talking and discussing historical hot starts. And, can anyone beat the Red Sox? I mean, earlier in the season, it's still early, of course, but earlier in the season, even earlier, after I think like it was game 10, like last week or whatever, the Red Sox were off to a great start. They'd beaten, the Tampa Bay Rays and some other, teams that aren't that great, the team that they're expected to win, and everyone was freaking out already. And I was saying, hey, take a step back. They haven't really beat anyone yet. But now, after another week has passed and they've only lost one game since, they're off to an insanely good start. Winning, 15 of their first 17 games. The first to begin a season like that since 2003 National League West champion Giants. It's also, Boston's also just the 7th team to do it since 1947. Of the other 6 since then, 2 of them went on to win the World Series. That'd be the 55 Brooklyn Dodgers and the 1984 Tigers. If the Sox hot start keeps up, they could become a part of this conversation next year. Perhaps part of a super blog or some kind of reporting on the MLB network next year. But they're off to such a start that, I think it definitely warrants a conversation today. And with that in mind, here's a look at the hottest starts in Major League history. We're going to start with the most consecutive wins to start a season. That goes to the 1982 Braves and the 87 Brewers. They began the season 13 consecutive wins, and their final records, the 82 Braves ended up 89-73, winning the National League West, but they lost in the National League Championship Series, and the 87 Brewers ended up 91-71, which is a measly 3rd in the AL East. They weren't always in the AL East, but the AL East has been tough pretty much since the beginning. So winning 91 games and finishing 3rd in the division should speak volumes to the toughness of that division. The 82 Braves were the first team to open the season with 13 straight wins. Back then, they were managed by Joe Torre, who went on to Yankees fame, and prior Yankees fame as well. It was his first year with the team, and they were led on the field by franchise icon Dale Murphy, who would go on to win his first back-to-back National League MVP awards that year. Murphy hit .281 with 36 home runs and a league-best 109 RBIs at the time, and won a Gold Glove in center field. The team, meanwhile, would go on to win the National League West after its historically hot start. And although the Braves lost in the NL Championship Series to the Cardinals, they can still chalk it up as a pretty good year, don't you think? 5 years later, moving along to the Brewers, they matched the Braves' season-opening feat, roaring off to a 13-0 start. Even after first lost, the Brewers won 7 of their next 9 games and started the season, if you want to push along a little bit further, with a 20-3 record. And even though they had 2 Hall of Famers in the lineup, Paul Molitor and Robin Yount, Milwaukee just would not make the playoffs despite finishing 91-71. Part of that reason is attributed to the Brewers after the 20-3 run. They went on a 12-game losing streak and the beginning of a larger stretch in which they lost 18 of 20 games. So too bad for them, right? Where's my boo button? I don't have my boo button. Let's cheer them anyway. Or whatever that is. Yeah. Anyhow, moving along to other great starts. The Athletics in 81, the Athletics were led, catalyzed by some measures, by a 22-year-old named Rickey Henderson. Yeah, you know who he is. Who in 108 games, keep in mind it was a season-shortened strike that, struck a number of games from the schedule. Anyhow, that year, Rickey Henderson, even despite 108 games, led the American League with 56 stolen bases and 135 hits. Led the majors with 89 runs scored and still won a Gold Glove in left field. The Athletics also had all-star Tony Armas providing the power. hitting a league-leading 22 homers that year. Henderson finished second in the American League MVP award voting, while Armas finished fourth. The A's went to the playoffs after winning their first 11 games, where they defeated the Royals in the AL Division Series before falling to the Yankees in the ALCS. Also coming close, the 55 Dodgers, 62 Pirates, 66 Indians, beginning their seasons with 10 wins. The 62 Pirates and 66 Indians couldn't turn their hot starts into anything, but the Pittsburgh Pirates went on to a 93-68 finish and was only good for fourth place in the National League. Wow. That's got to be soul-crushing right there to win that many games and only finish fourth. Cleveland finished its season 81-81, and the 55 Dodgers, though, they were another story. And speaking of which, moving along to the best start through 25 games, the 55 Dodgers, 22-3, finishing 98-55. That year they won the World Series, ladies and gentlemen, behind a lot of star power and star players. The 55 season came in the heart of the Dodgers-Yankees rivalry that dominated baseball for pretty much that entire era. Pretty much the 1940s and 1950s were just owned by Brooklyn and New York. Not Brooklyn, New York, but Brooklyn and New York, the Yankees and the Dodgers, seemingly slugging it out for baseball supremacy every year that decade. Not only did the Dodgers win their first 10 games in 55, but they rattled off another 11-game win streak from game 14 through 24. And of course, that's not what most fans remember them for. Nope, the 55 Dodgers made history by winning the franchise's first World Series title, beating the rival Yankees in a thrilling 7-game fall classic. It was in this World Series that Jackie Robinson pulled off his iconic Game 1 steal home base. If you want to see it, there's videos all over YouTube of it. The 55 Dodgers were absolutely loaded. I mean, a dreamer's dream team, right? Robinson, Roy Campanella, Duke Snider, Pee Wee Reese. Oh, and a rookie who was 19 years old named Sandy Koufax. Campanella won the National League MVP that year, hitting .318 with 32 home runs and 107 ribbies. And Snyder was the runner-up, hitting .309 with 42 homers and a Major League best 136 RBIs and 126 runs scored. So, yeah, the 55 Dodgers were special, not just for the World Series, but also just for their hot start, the 22-3 start. You know, Jackie Robinson, all of the above. It was just a magical season. A season of which we might not ever witness again. I mean, not that I witnessed it. I mean, this was way before my time, but you know, I mean, it was just a great season, not just for the Dodgers, but for baseball. And finally, someone dethroning the Yankees, because, you know, back then the Yankees were just winning it all the time. Next best we had to go all the way back to 1911. The Tigers, the 46 Red Sox, 77 Dodgers, the 84 Tigers. These teams began the season at 21-4. Now, speaking of the 11 Tigers, they were led by baseball legend Ty Cobb, who won the AL MVP that season after batting a behemoth .420, recording 248 hits, which was then a single-season record by far. The 46 Red Sox... speaking of Ty Cobb, there is a wonderful book that was just released, and I've been reading it, that turns everything that you've ever been told about Ty Cobb on its head. That's all I'm going to say. It's called Ty Cobb, something about a disaster. I don't have it in front of me. But nevertheless, it was released, I believe, last year. Check it out. Seriously, my mind is being blown just reading this book. But anyhow, moving along, the 46 Red Sox would make the World Series behind Hall of Famers Ted Williams and Bobby Doerr, but lost to the Cardinals in 7 as the so-called curse of the Bambino lived on. And the 77 Dodgers also made the World Series behind star players like Steve Garvey, Don Sutton, before falling to the Yankees, of course. Yankees are always the spoilers, right? And more of the 1984 Tigers momentarily. More teams that came close with 20-5 records. The 1912 Reds, the 25 Athletics, 28 Yankees, 39 Yankees, 58 Yankees, Yankees, 81 A's, 86 Mets, 87 Brewers, the 2001 Mariners, and the 03, yeah, you guessed it, Yankees. This larger group includes 4 World Series champs, the 28, 39, and 58 Yankees, and the 86 Mets. The 28 and 39 Yankee squads will make appearances, but the others are noteworthy in their own right, because the 58 Yankees were led by the Hall of Fame trio, of Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and Whitey Ford, and rallied from a 3-1 deficit in the Fall Classic to win in 7 games, beating a loaded Braves team that had Hall of Famers Hank Aaron, Eddie Matthews, Red Shudnist, and Warren Spahn. The 86 Mets, 20-5 as well, are one of the most memorable teams, both for their personality and their ability on the field. The 86 World Series is one of the greatest ever played, with the Mets' unbelievable Game 6 rally among the most famous sports moments ever recorded. That, of course, includes a one Bucky Dent blemish. Speaking of the curse of the Bambino. Now we're gonna up the game a little bit, and the best start through 40 games belongs to the 1984 Tigers. Now, I'd mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit more about the 84 Tigers a minute ago, and here we go. The 84 Tigers were memorable for a number of reasons. It's the last Detroit team to win the World Series, and it was probably the most impressive club put together. I'm not going to go and say of all time, but they're definitely in the upper echelon of those groups. That year, the Tigers never trailed in their division, ever, not once. They won 9 straight games to open the season, jumping out to a lead in the AL East that never was relinquished. And their 35-5 start to the year was a remarkable display of dominance. Not just remarkable, but it was just absolute dominance. So not just a remarkable display of dominance, it was the definition of dominance by baseball standards. More importantly, though, they finished the job. And after a 104-58 regular season, the Tigers swept the Royals in the ALCS, beat the Padres in 5 games in the World Series, and were crowned champions. That Tiger team was led by a who's who of baseball. The likes of Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibson, Lou Whitaker, Chet Lemon. Atop their starting rotation was a Hall of Fame workhorse by the name of Jack Morris. Yes, the Jack Morris, who pitched 2 complete game wins in the World Series. And the back of the bullpen was Willie Hernandez, if you remember him, whose sensational season, which ended with a pair of World Series saves, netted him both the AL Cy Young and AL MVP award. Now that's impressive. We can go on to the next best. I mean, we can keep pushing these numbers higher. We can keep broadening the scope of things. The 28 Yankees and the 1939 Yankees began 33-7, which doesn't surprise me at all. It's no surprise, really, that a pair of the legendary Yankees teams of the 20s and 30s started out so strong. I mean, look at the 28 Yankees had Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig at the helm, 2 of the best to ever play the game, with Ruth crushing 54 home runs that season. This is like not that long after the dead ball era, by the way. I mean, so those numbers, even by today's standards, or that number by today's standards even, is just insane. 54 home runs. And they played less games back then. Of course, he led the majors. Just a year after his record-setting 60 home runs. Think about it. Gehrig, meanwhile, batted .374 and drove in an MLB best 147 runs. Add in a couple more Hall of Famers like Tony Lazzeri and Wade Hoyt, and this team just could not be stopped. They were 101-53 in the regular season, then swept the Cardinals in the World Series to bring home the second championship of the franchise's record 27 World Series. Jeez Louise. The 39 Yankees won the series too after a 106-45 season. That was the DiMaggio era. Joltin' Joe won his first MVP award that season after batting .381 to lead the majors. Hall of Famers Bill Dickey and Joe Gordon helping fill up the lineup around DiMaggio, and another pair of Hall of Famers on the pitching staff, including Lefty Gomez and Red Ruffing. The 39 Yankees rolled to a sweep of the Reds in the Fall Classic. Now coming close, I think I'm going to do 60 games as well, but let's stick with the 40 round. But coming real close, the 1912 Giants were 32-8. The 29 Athletics, 41 Browns, former Baltimore Orioles, or the team that preceded the Baltimore Orioles, 46 Red Sox, 98 Yankees, and the 2001 Magical Mariners started 31-9. So most of these teams make appearances elsewhere, but the 29 A's also deserve mention because, with MLB's all-time winningest manager, Connie Mack, at the helm, Philadelphia, not Oakland, Philadelphia Athletics, went 104-46 in the regular season to clinch the AL pennant by 18 games over the Yankees. Wow. And then they beat the Cubs in 5 to take home the World Series. Now, the best start through 60 games, the 1912 Giants, 48-11. They have an asterisk by that number indicating a tie. As with many of these teams, the 1912 Giants featured several legends of the sport. They were managed by the Hall of Famer John McGraw, the second winningest manager in Major League Baseball history, and their pitching staff was led by the Hall of Fame duo of Christy Mathewson and Rube Marcard. After a sizzling start, New York just ran away with the National League pennant, but lost to the Red Sox in a dramatic 8-game World Series. One of the games was tied. That's the game I was talking about. In a winner-take-all, Game 8, Mathewson was brilliant into the 10th inning, but Boston rallied to win the game and end the series on a walk-off sacrifice fly. That is a tough way to go, man, on a sacrifice fly. So that's the 1912 New York Giants. Their record, 103-48. Next best, we'll mention the 39 Yankees and 2001 Mariners again, 47-13 to begin of the season. I've already discussed the 39 Yankees, so we'll just talk about the 2001 Mariners, who had one of the greatest regular seasons in Major League Baseball history, tying the Major League Baseball record in wins with 116. 116 wins. Are we ever going to see that again? I don't know. A couple teams might have come a little bit close, but that's just crazy. Even crazier is the 1906 Cubs, the Chicago Cubs. Even crazier is the 1906 Chicago Cubs. They won 116 in less games, so they're a great start. Just a part of a run that lasted the whole year. Seattle won 20 of its first 25, 31 of 40, and 47 of 60. Unfortunately, the M's couldn't continue the magic into the postseason as they fell to the Yankees in the ALCS. Still, the 2001 Mariners team is one to remember. This is the one year that is the year that Ichiro came to the United States, taking MLB by storm as a rookie. How do you say it? As an older rookie, the future Hall of Famer, he's certainly going to be a Hall of Famer, won the AL batting title by hitting .350 and racking up an astounding 242 hits. You got to think, if he was going after that Ty Cobb, the Ty Cobb mark. But at the time, it was MLB's highest hit total since 1930. Of course, Ichiro then set new single-season records after that with 262 hits a few years later. Ichiro also led the majors with 56 stolen bases, sparking the Mariners out of the leadoff spot all season long. He won both the AL Rookie of the Year and the AL MVP. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a freaking hot start that didn't finish so hot. Now, the best first halves belong to, and this is just by winning percentage, the best first half belongs to, you guessed it, the Yankees of 1988. They began the season at 61-20. That's a whopping .753 winning percentage. And finishing the season 114-48, coming close to that Mariners record of 116 wins. And with the MLB All-Star Game first being played in 1933, since then no team had a better record at the break than the 1998 Yankees. They were arguably the greatest juggernaut of the late 90s. A dynasty, if you will, managed by Joe Torre and led on the field by the core four: Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, and Mariano Rivera. What a team. And others like Tino Martinez, Paul O'Neill, and Bernie Williams. The 98 Yankees were just simply put one of the best teams of all time. The Bronx Bombers, some column, set a then AL record with 114 wins in the regular season, going 11-2 in the postseason, including a sweep of the Padres in the World Series, which sparked a run of 3 straight Yankees championships. It all started with their historically great first half. It's over a 700 winning percentage. That's just bonkers. The next best, of course, we're going to drop the 2001 Mariners again. 724 winning percentage, 63-24. That's the year that I just spoke about, where the Mariners broke the 1998 Yankees AL wins record and tying the Major League Baseball record. Just a few years after they set it. We've covered them already, but just one more thing to note about their first half. Seattle entered the All-Star break that year with an incredible 19-game lead in the AL West. Ouch. I mean, do you throw in the towel at that point? If you're not the Mariners? Do you, tank like or so-called tanking that other teams are doing these days? I don't know. I have an opinion on that too, but maybe that's for another show. Coming pretty darn close to those hot starts. The 42 Dodgers, 52-21 with a 712 winning percentage. The 44 Cardinals, and of course the 52 Dodgers again, 51-21, 708 winning percentages. Speaking of the Dodgers, they were victims of the pennant or bust era of baseball, going 104-50 in the regular season, but finished 2 games back of the eventual champion Cardinals, even after winning their final 8 games. The 52 Dodgers had slightly better luck taking home the NL pennant, but lost to you know who, the Yankees. It was always the Dodgers and the Yankees in the 50s. The 44 Cardinals, on the other hand, went all the way after their first great half. They were led by Stan Musial. They finished their regular season 105-49, beating the Browns in 6 games in the Fall Classic. So that does it for hot starts. What do you guys think about all that? I'm pretty sure you got an opinion. I'm sure that there's other hot starts that I looked over. I'm just going by the sheer numbers here, ladies and gentlemen. But, yeah, what do you think? Are the Bosox going to do it this year? Personally, I hope not. They play in the same division as the Orioles, who are off to a dismal start. That doesn't mean they still can't come back because it's still early, right? But I'm still curious, what do you guys think? Are the Red Sox going to go by the wayside like the Dodgers teams of the 50s, or are they going to take it all? Are they going to believe their own curse that was supposedly lifted anyway, or are they going to play great baseball all year long, be consistent? I mean, do they stand a chance to beat the record halfway through the season by the All-Star break, which is in Washington, D.C. this year, by the way? What do you think? You can hit me up on Facebook, JimmyFlame77, Twitter, JimmyFlame77. You can just chat here if you like. I got a chat page here. Sorry I didn't get to questions today, by the way. So to those asking questions, I apologize. I did not get to them today. And before we go today, I just wanted to take a moment to send my condolences to the Sammartino family. Bruno Sammartino, who was a wrestling legend for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation in the 60s and 70s and parts of the early 80s when it became the World Wrestling Federation, passed away recently. And my thoughts and prayers go out to the Sammartino family. Also, Paul Jones, his family, he passed away recently as well. Two legends of the ring, two legends of the golden era of the squared circle, and I just can't say enough about those two performers. And my thoughts and prayers are with their families today. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jimmy Flame coming at you for the Baseball Fury. One more time, hit me up on Facebook at JimmyFlame77, Twitter, JimmyFlame727. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, you can catch all my shows on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, through iTunes, Apple Music, and Google Plus. Or what is it? Google Play. Yeah, Google Play. Until next time, I'm out, y'all.